Good morning, everybody. Hi, my name is Edkins. I'm the climate change expert on the Connect for Climate program of the World Bank. I'm very excited to be here today to host a live discussion with some of our Film4Climate winners, as well as our Film4Climate Jury member, Farida Benlyazi. So today is really a day of action. We're at the COP22. This is the first COP after Paris, and really this is a COP about action. We organized a youth video competition to get the young voices around climate action and around climate solutions represented here at the COP. That competition was called Film4Climate Global Video Competition. It was organized in collaboration with the UN, UNFCCC, a few private sector partners, as well as the Moroccan government. And we announced the winners last Sunday. Two of our winners are here, so welcome Kaia and Eric Mann. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So they are the winners of the short film category on Put a Price on Carbon Pollution. So we're going to go straight into it and watch your film. It's called Climate Countdown, Put a Price on Carbon.
Climate change, we have a limited amount of time to resolve it, and it concerns everyone.
The only way we can do this is we need a price on carbon.
For me, it helps to know where are the challenges, and then you start to see the solutions.
Fossil fuels need to be priced to include their cost to society.
If we miss this opportunity, that means a few more years. Potentially, it's going to be too late.
Whether you like it or not, in 10 years and 20 years, it's going to affect you.
Are we filming?
We are filming.
Okay, cool. So climate change rhetoric has obviously, there's been a great groundswell of it. You know, you could say that like we're really turning the corner, and carbon pricing just comes up again and again and again as something we have to do.
Okay. Post-its in the wind. Can you hear me? I'm good? Oh, yeah. Since I've been getting involved in the whole climate world, I've kind of jumped into it all. Carbon pricing is like, everyone is talking about carbon pricing.
One of the things that became very, very clear to me is that we're trying to throw money and technology at the symptoms of climate change. We will be throwing finance at adaptation and mitigation, but adaptation and mitigation comes after the fact. It comes after the disease has already taken hold. Right. So they're throwing good money into a leaky system.
So you're saying that pricing carbon is the solution for the cause?
For the cause of climate change, exactly. One of the quickest ways to accelerate everybody's solutions is to correct the global economy so that it pushes carbon-based resources out of it.
The tricky thing about carbon dioxide is that you can't see it.
And it's global, it's dispersed everywhere. So the taxpayers are paying those costs. The cost of extreme weather events such as Hurricane Sandy, people have to pay that cost in their health and the cost of healthcare while they're being caused by these carbon dioxide emissions from burning fossil fuels.
And so if you take the external costs that they're creating that aren't in the price and you put them in the price, then they actually reflect their true cost to society, and then people will start choosing cleaner, like renewables or cleaner fuels, and you'll get a much faster switch.
Every country has an economy, and so every country has an opportunity to implement a carbon pricing instrument that is going to be a benefit to them. Eventually we can, what we call, harmonize those systems and link them.
There's two different versions of carbon pricing, quantity or price. Quantity is the government creates a certain amount of permits that caps the amount of emissions allowed. Companies who want to emit have to have a permit, so they have to either buy these permits from the government at an initial auction, or sometimes they're given to them at the initial kind of introduction. And then they trade these permits between companies.
Cap and trade.
It's in the title. So it creates this kind of new market of trading, which is kind of like a commodities market in that the price goes up and down depending on supply or demand. So the thing about that method is that there's a strong certainty in terms of how many emissions will be allowed, but there's a lot of uncertainty about the price. So it's hard for businesses to build that into their business model. So the other method is a price method where you tax the carbon-based fuel at the source, so when it comes out of the ground or is imported, comes across the border, and then that makes that fuel more expensive. In that case, there's a lot of certainty about the price, but uncertainty about emissions because there's no cap on how many carbon emissions we'll still be creating. But the idea is that inevitably they'll go down because companies will inevitably want to find cheaper ways of doing it, and carbon-based fuels will become more and more expensive, and therefore they'll be incentivized to look for clean forms of energy. We need to create an economic incentive for our global economy to move away from fossil fuels, and right now there is no economic incentive.
There's a lot of different ways to price carbon. You have a lot of different mechanisms for it, and within those mechanisms there's a lot of subcategories of how to do it. Right. So we want to do it right, and like most things with climate change, there's no one-size-fits-all.
If something like carbon pricing was put in place, it would really shift things in a huge way.
Thank you, Kaia and Eric. So I think the fundamental message coming out of there is that we need to shift our global economy so as to encourage the correct pricing scheme that allows for a transition to a low-carbon future. And one of the most eloquent ways of doing it is to put a price on carbon. Whether you do it by cap and trade or by carbon tax, that's pretty much up to the governments. So I just wanted to ask you guys, how did you come onto this topic? Why did you choose carbon pricing as the solution to promote?
Well, yeah, so we were, last year, the whole year, we were working on a web series called Climate Countdown, and we were talking to people, kind of mapping out the ecology of climate solutions. So looking at all the different solutions and how they linked together and helped each other. And we found ourselves talking to scientists and policymakers and activists, and everyone was telling us about their solution and then saying, well, but if we priced carbon, it would make my job a lot easier. So, when a solar technician tells you that, you're like, huh, okay. So we started really focusing on that, and it did just seem like it was one of those solutions that's so elegant and so simple, and that if it was put into place, it would just accelerate all of the other solutions. So it's not something that we do instead of everything else, but it'll make everything else go faster. So we just thought it's something that we didn't know anything about before, and it felt like most of our friends and the kind of people that we were chatting to, they hear carbon pricing and their eyes kind of glaze over, and it sounds intimidating and scary and boring. And so we wanted to try to make it approachable and conversational, and hopefully that the kind of elegant simplicity of it can come across and people can really get behind it.
And so I know you work a lot with film, so maybe Eric, you could tell me a little bit about the power of film and how you think that can influence behavioral shift, can encourage societal acceptance of new policies, new leadership around climate action.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it's funny watching this now. I don't know if you could hear the sound, but I love film because it is such a visual medium, and I was watching it this time with the notion of, okay, what can I learn from it just with the visuals? If I can't hear it, can I still learn? And I think that watching it again puts you in a place where we're seeing these images and they stick in our brains, and I think that that's such a powerful tool that we come across all the time. And along with that, seeing people talk about it, you feel their passion talk about it, and that inherently resonates with you because you connect with that. You're like, oh, I see. I mean, maybe not so much in this case, but a lot of cases you see, you connect with that person. So because they're a human being, so it's like, well, we're both humans, so I can relate on that level. And I do think, I mean, the visuals really, I mean, we came up with this system, so when we were originally brainstorming this idea of Climate Countdown, we were like, okay, how do we make, instead of just a talking heads documentary, how do we make it come to life visually? And we thought of this Post-it idea, and I think writing it down, we were like that, because we write things down, we type things out to help it stick in our brains. So that's where we came up with the idea for the Post-it notes.
And I think the Post-it note as well is, we thought, well, if we can put it on a Post-it, then that's like the least intimidating thing ever, is to be a little colorful Post-it with some information. You're like, I can do that. And then there's another Post-it, and you're like, yeah, okay, I can do that one. So it's kind of like step by step guiding people through. And that's how it was for us, too.
And so I think what also made the film really great was a personal touch. And actually putting yourself into it, Kaia, was really wonderful to see, and you could actually see that you're really enjoying the topic and you're really wanting to digest this and really wanting to help other people understand it. So I think there was very much a personal touch in there.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, it's funny you say that, because it was such a personal journey for Kaia, and then she brought me on board, and then it became a personal story for me. And I think that film, we kind of documented that happening throughout the series, and especially, you know, and it's you can see it here, but throughout, it was a personal journey. So and we're still learning, and we're still filming that, and we ask the questions because we want to know. We want to ask the actual questions, and so why not film it?
Absolutely. I'd like to hand over now to you, Farida. So Farida was on our Film4Climate Jury. We got over 860 submissions from 155 countries, which told all kinds of climate-related stories. I wanted to hear from you, what was your takeaway from judging those videos, and how do you feel about the youth message coming out of these films? You can speak in French if you prefer.
I speak in French. Bon, en tant que jury, j'ai été vraiment très intéressée par les films qui nous ont été présentés de différentes régions du monde, et j'étais particulièrement sensible à l'impact sur les humains, à certains films sur les humains, et je pense qu'il faut, bien sûr il faut sauver la Terre, mais il faut être conscient qu'il faut sauver l'espèce humaine. On parle beaucoup des autres espèces, mais nous sommes reliés. Et s'il y a une perte des espèces, l'espèce humaine sera la suivante. Donc il faut quand même prendre conscience de cela. Et surtout, ce que je trouve formidable, c'est que les films soient faits, mais il faudrait qu'ils soient diffusés. Beaucoup plus. Il faudrait que les télévisions diffusent ces films. C'est alarmant. Mais ça n'est pas assez... ça n'est pas assez diffusé, alors que vraiment, oui, le pouvoir de l'image est extraordinaire pour bien comprendre les enjeux.
No, exactly. Some really powerful stories coming out of the video competition, and I think that is very much symbolic of where young people stand nowadays. We very much see that this is the issue of our generation. We're already growing up with climate impacts, and we know that we're the last generation that can actually deal with it. And what was really inspiring for us at Connect for Climate was the solutions coming through and the opportunities that, you know, young people really see the transition to a low-carbon future as an opportunity that we can formulate our future, and we want to be part of that. So being here at COP22, you know, what are your messages for the leaders, and what do you want them to come out of this meeting and go forward into the next few years?
A lot of action. Just, yeah, I mean, the COPs are so great because information is shared across so many platforms, and that's beautiful. You learn so much, but then at the end of the day, it's like, we gotta do it, guys. Come on. Like, what are we waiting for? What is the holdup? Like, why is it just feels like you're trudging through mud, and it's like, come on, we gotta do something. But I was gonna say, all the problems lead to a lot of creativity, and we're like, we're gonna think of some new creative films, new creative solutions to keep tackling this problem, because people aren't listening. So we have to do a better job of being efficient and waking people up more and more.
Yeah, I would say the urgency. Like, I think our generation, we really feel it, that if we don't do something now, it's not in 10 years, it's not in 15 years, it really is now. There's a very small window of time. And that's why we set out to do this, is I was kind of engaged with this issue. I cared a lot about it, but I kind of thought that it was a done deal. And I think a lot of people in our generation feel like we're just going to inherit this huge climate change problem. And then I started hearing about these solutions, and that COP21 was this kind of, could be this year where things shifted and we bent that curve. And I was like, how do I not know about this? I want to be there for that. So I kind of made a promise to myself that I would be in Paris, and we were, and now I'm in Marrakesh, and I feel very honored to be here. And I just think that we need to set those moonshots, you know. We were at an event last night, 100% renewable for 1.5 degrees, and I think we do need to not just take action. Action at this point is necessary, but ambitious action is what we really need, and we need to do that now.
And also, the COP is here in Morocco, which is very symbolic for the broader climate change agenda. So beyond actually mitigating climate change, we also need to adapt to the impacts. So what message would you have as a Moroccan filmmaker, you know, and the fact that we're hosting the COP here, how do you feel that is influencing the climate discussion?
Oui, bien sûr, les réalisateurs marocains devraient en être conscients, mais bon, je crois que c'est universel, qu'il faut partir du principe que c'est quelque chose qui touche toute la planète et qu'il n'y a pas de frontières pour l'environnement, et que si ça va mal, ça ira mal pour tout le monde. Donc effectivement, c'est urgent. Il est urgent de prendre conscience, il est urgent de changer nos habitudes, il est urgent que les jeunes prennent les choses en main dans leur créativité pour trouver des solutions. Et donc on espère effectivement, même au Maroc, justement, il y a beaucoup de jeunes qui font des choses, et on a vu des films sur leurs activités. Et il faut qu'il y en ait de plus en plus. Et voilà. Et pour malheureusement les puissants de la terre, les lobbies, il faut qu'ils comprennent aussi qu'ils n'ont pas où se cacher. Quand ça ira mal pour tout le monde.
Right. No, exactly, and I very much that global message that we all need to act. That also came across so well in the Film4Climate competition, that the underlying message is that we can all do this together. And being here at the COP, being part of the Earth to Marrakesh coalition, being represented through SDG Live, we really know that there is a large swelling, a real movement out there of people wanting to be part of the solution. So I'd like to just have you give some final words, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having us here. This whole experience has been really tremendous, and kind of reinvigorated my desire to continue making films about this, continue to explore the best ways to communicate these ideas and inspire action. And I do think that the climate problem is huge, it's challenging, but it does provide so many opportunities, and I actually think the solutions are super exciting. And there are so many different types of solutions, and they fit together, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. I mean, even with carbon pricing, kind of the beauty of it is it's not a one-size-fits-all, that each country can do it in their own way. But we really do need to do it now, and I feel that's stronger than ever, I think. So I'm going to walk away from this and keep thinking about more films I can make to keep that momentum going and inspire, especially the younger generation, to really start getting involved and kind of owning these solutions that we'll inherit.
That's nice. It's true. No, thank you. Thanks for having us. And I think any final words are, you know, I think that we all do play a role, and I think taking just a moment to reflect and be silent within that then inherently gives you it gives you a creative solution to solve whatever you're working on, whether it be, I mean, literally anything, any profession you have. If you just take a moment to go within and use that moment, use that void, that gives you creative solutions. And I think that that's what we need across the board from everyone. And then it'll be a better world.
And from you, a few final words, Farida?
Donc, moi, j'ai été bien sûr très heureuse de participer à cet événement au Maroc. C'est un grand honneur et une grande satisfaction. J'ai appris beaucoup de choses, bien que je m'intéresse à cela depuis longtemps. Et donc, j'espère que la prise de conscience se fera grâce à nos films.
Super. And I also just wanted to thank the Moroccan government for their leadership, and especially Minister El Haite for her ambition and her, you know, courage to really put the climate action agenda on the table and drive it forward with all the non-state actors. And then finally, a huge thank you to all the young filmmakers who sent in their stories and participated in the Film4Climate competition. I mean, it's really your guys' voice and your solutions that we all are listening to and that we're all inspired by. And then, yeah, thanks to SDG Live and Earth to Marrakesh. Let's keep the movement going. Thank you so much for this discussion. Have a great day.